Hi, my name is Mary Liddy, and I did my group project with Nick, Ben, and April on locomotion. And I researched and analyzed a paper about the burrow dwellings, behaviors, and locomotion of Palaeoscolecidian worms. Palaeoscolecidian worms are part of the Chengjiang fauna, which include the three different species analyzed in this paper: C. junyuan, M. sinensis, and M. cylindrica. And these fossils were found in many localities of the Cambrian Maoyan Shale, which is in southern China, and they lived in endobenthic communities during the Cambrian and Precambrian. Here's a map that shows the different localities where the fossils were collected from. The main question of this paper is, what were the burrowing and locomotive habits of Palaeoscolecidian worms? And in order to answer this question, paleontologists studied the fossils of C. junyuan, M. sinensis, and M. cylindrica that have been collected within the last 15 years and are currently housed in the Nanjing Institute of Geology and Paleontology. And they took the specimens and dissected them and took photographs and used elemental mapping systems and then reconstructed the photos of the specimens by using Photoshop. And after performing this analysis on C. junyuan, the paleontologists found that the burrows of this worm are both shorter than the length of the worm and wider than the width of the worm. And in addition, both ends of the burrows are open, since these worms rapidly deposited mudstone. And they also use lateral plates and their flat bodies for crawling. And here are a few photographs of C. junyuan fossils that paleontologists used to and observe to come up with these results. And after analyzing the fossils of M. sinensis, their burrows were found to be long, tube-like, and cylindrical with both ends open, and they are also both longer and wider than the body of the worm, suggesting a snake-like movement. And here are photographs of fossil specimens that paleontologists used to perform their analysis. And as for M. cylindrica, the fossil record was insufficient to infer information about its burrowing and locomotion habits. And based on the results drawn from the analysis of C. junyuan, M. sinensis, and M. cylindrica, paleontologists conclude that Palaeoscolecidian worms are tube-like burrowers with an infaunal lifestyle and temporary crawling behavior, although other aspects of their lifestyle may differ.
Paleontologists have been working hard over the last 20 years categorizing stem crocodiles. Recently, they discovered a nearly complete fossil of the Poposaurus gracilis, past the head. It is an interesting specimen of crocodile because it spends all of its time on land, unlike most stem crocodiles, which are amphibious. The Poposaurus gracilis fossil was discovered in Utah and is dated from the late Triassic. Scientists began to ponder how the Poposaurus gracilis walked. Were they bipedal or quadrupedal? All other stem crocodiles of the era and modern crocodiles are quadrupedal, but the extremely large hind legs compared to the smaller forearms would indicate otherwise. The morphology of the structure is not enough to determine how the Poposaurus gracilis actually walked. To determine the actual locomotion of the Poposaurus gracilis, a three-stepped approach was formed to determine how it actually walked. The first step was to determine where the Poposaurus gracilis was located phylogenetically. After that, the locomotive capabilities of its ancestors needed to be figured out, because the ancestors' traits will most likely determine the traits of the Poposaurus gracilis. These two steps are used to create a null hypothesis. Once these two steps have been accomplished, a comparison between the ancestors and observable traits in the Poposaurus gracilis can be identified. As it turns out, the branch Poposauridae is located well into the Crocodilian stem clade, and not located closer to the Pan-avian stem. Most stem crocodiles were tetrapods, and they're walking with quadrupedal, with all four legs holding the body in the air as it moved. It was also determined that there is not much benefit to running bipedally, and not much extensive research has been done to the actual benefits of bipedality. But these traits are seen in the Poposaurus gracilis, ancestors, and archosaurs and diapsids. After proving that these traits exist with the null hypothesis, it is easy to see that the Poposaurus gracilis' leg structure conducts itself to at least walking with high steps. The structure of the pelvis and femur show that it definitely walked bipedally, and body mass is the other key to maintaining bipedal walking. For cursorial mammals, the weight they needed to walk bipedally is 119 kilograms, and the Poposaurus gracilis at its maximum would not exceed 100 kilograms. What does it mean for the Poposaurus gracilis to be bipedal? It tells us a lot about the Rhesusians, a subset of crocodilian evolution that diverged from the main line. Based on Poposaurus gracilis' size and movement, which is strikingly similar to the dinosaurs of the late Triassic, the Poposaurus gracilis could have been a rival at the top of the food chain. Little was known about the Poposaurus gracilis until recently, but evidence shows that they might have been more impactful on late Triassic than previously thought.
Vertebrate burrows from Triassic and Jurassic continental deposits of North America and Antarctica, their paleoenvironmental and paleoecological significance. In recent years, new trace fossils have been found in North America and Antarctica. These have been identified as dating back to the Triassic and Jurassic time periods, or the age of dinosaurs. The ichnofossils observed were burrows and bowl-shaped depressions that varied greatly in size and came from a wide variety of climates. There were three primary locations where these trace fossils were observed: the Freemouth Formation, the Chinle Formation, and the Morrison Formation. The Freemouth Formation, located in present-day Antarctica, would have had, in ancient times, a warm climate with seasonal rainfall. In what is now Arizona, the Chinle Formation would have had monsoonal climates in the lower half and arid climates in the upper half. The Morrison Formation is located in the present-day Rocky Mountain region. The question being tested in this paper was, are these trace fossils a rare example of the advanced behavior of vertebrae, and if so, which vertebrae made them and what do they signify? The data being analyzed in this paper was the various ichnofossils found at the three primary locations. At the Freemouth Formation, there were large subhorizontal burrows. The Chinle Formation had large bowl-shaped depressions as well as a network of burrows. At the Morrison Formation, subhorizontal burrows and burrow networks were examined. In analyzing this data, a very simple method was used. The trace fossils found were simply compared to structures built by modern-day burrowing organisms. The subhorizontal burrows of the Freemouth Formation are thought to be made by therapsids. This means that there may have been mammal-like reptiles living in the southern part of Pangaea. They also show that these animals might have hibernated for short periods of time, an unusual trait for reptiles. In the Chinle Formation, the bowl-shaped depressions have been labeled as the nesting holes of ancient reptiles. This could suggest that these reptiles participated in some sort of subsocial behavior, as it is known that similar dinosaurs of the age cared for their eggs. This is an important discovery as it shows the early behavior of caring for young. The network of burrows located at the Chinle Formation are thought to be constructed by mammal-like reptiles. This discovery is less conclusive because no such animals have been found in the Chinle Formation as of now. The subhorizontal burrows of the Morrison Formation are said to be made by reptiles. They were located close to water at the time of their construction, suggesting that the animals that made them needed to be in wet environments. In addition, the burrow networks from the Morrison Formation are believed to be formed by mammals. These provide some very important information. First of all, they suggest some sort of subsocial or communal behavior. This is very unusual for the time period. In addition, it is seen that they may have been used for long periods of time. The burrow networks of the Morrison Formation are the most impressive because they represent the earliest known subsocial or communal behavior displayed by mammals. In conclusion, it was found that these trace fossils were in fact made by vertebrae. The bowl-shaped depressions were put into a behavioral category known as calychnia. This means that they only served one purpose, to aid in reproduction. The burrows of all shapes and sizes were labeled as part of the category Polychrysicnia. This implies that they have many different functions, including reproducing and raising offspring, getting nutrients, and providing shelter from harsh climates. The burrows are exceptionally important because they demonstrate a possible link between the act of burrowing and the evolution of reptiles into mammals.
And now, an article about the locomotor ecology of Decanolestes. Decanolestes is a genus from the late Cretaceous and originated in India. We know this genus existed due to the finding of separate dental, mandibular, and postcranial elements. As this image displays, this taxon was placed within Adidapiscridulidae. Very little is known about the life of the Decanolestes genus, but due to certain morphological considerations, their environment or habitat may have been arboreal. One such morphological distinction in particular that the research paper analyzed was the astragalus bone. Scientists took a 3D scan of the astragalus and took 36 specific landmarks from the scan and compared them to other taxa to determine its role. They found a wide range of differences between marsupials and Cretaceous eutherians and most modern eutherians. Thus, they found Decanolestes to be scansorial. In the end, they found changes in the shape distinguished between phylogenetic groups rather than reflecting arborality. In summary, these papers all show that the morphological distinctions mixed with phylogenetic information determine locomotive ecology.